Hi everyone. So if you hear any laughing in the background, that is Roger. But let's get started. So today I'm going to be making butter chicken. And I'm going to be doing a really simple recipe because the chicken is already cooked. So for this recipe, we have tomato, onion, and garlic. And that's already prepped. And then we have some coconut milk, some ghee. We jarred that ghee together. We have onions, garlic, and ginger, red chili powder, coriander powder, turmeric powder, cumin powder, and cumin seeds. And then we also have some cashews, and I have them in hot water so they can get soft. Then we are also going to be using a little bit of avocado oil right there. And for this recipe, because I'm going to end up canning the butter chicken, I am going to leave out the Kasuri Methi, because we can always add that whenever we're ready to eat it. And this is just Kasuri Methi leaves, and you just crush them and put them in at the end. So I'm not going to be using that today, but I took it out so I could show it to you. And I may need to use 2 of that because I'm using chicken from Costco, and I'm going to be cooking both chicken breasts. There's the chicken we're going to be using today. I've already chopped it into pieces, and we'll be eating that for dinner. We have a tablespoon of avocado oil, and once that gets hot, we're going to put in about 2 teaspoons of the cumin seeds. And once they start to splatter, we'll put in our onions. Now that the oil is hot, I have put in the cumin seeds, and as you can see, they are starting to splatter. So it's time for me to put in my onions, and that is 1 medium onion. And now I'm going to go ahead and add in about 2 tablespoons of ghee. And you can use butter if you prefer butter. So we have our 2 tablespoons of ghee in there. And we're going to add about ½ a teaspoon of salt. And that's just to help draw out the moisture out of the onions. And the goal here is to caramelize the onions, and we want them to have a slightly brown golden color before we add any other ingredients. While we are waiting for our onions to finish caramelizing, I have gone ahead and I have crushed the ginger and garlic, and in just a few minutes we are going to add it into the caramelized onions. And I don't know if you can see that, but the onions have started getting that golden brown. That's what we're going for. So I'm going to give it another maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and add the ginger and garlic. We now have the ginger and garlic mixing in with our caramelized onions. And we're going to give this about 3, maybe 5 minutes. And we're going to let the raw taste cook out of the garlic and ginger. And then we're going to come and add in our spices. Give them a few minutes before we add in our tomato, onion, garlic mixture. The onion and ginger is ready, so it's time to put in our tomato, onion, and garlic mixture. Mix this in. And now we are ready to add our spices, and we have the tablespoon of red chili powder, and I'm going to put in the coriander, turmeric, and the cumin powder. And the ratios are a teaspoon of the turmeric, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 2 tablespoons of the coriander powder. So we have our spices in, and now all we need to do is mix them in. And at this point, if you want to add a jalapeno or whatever pepper you like, this is the point at which you put it in, or a serrano. And we are going to let the spices cook in this mixture. And it should become aromatic because they're in the oil. And we'll give this about between 3 and 5 minutes, and I'll show you how to tell that your spices are now ready. I've added in my serrano, and I've used 1 large serrano and 1 small one. And like I mentioned before, you're putting in your peppers to taste. So this is how you tell that your mixture is ready for the next step. As you can see, it becomes really shiny on top. And if you try to pull away the mixture, you can see the oil starting to pull. And it has turned into that yellow color. Yes, but the easiest way is just to look at how shiny that becomes. You know you're ready for the next step. The next step is I am going to turn off my stove. So I almost forgot a really important part. We need to put in our cashews that we had left in the hot water. And at this point, they're nice and soft. And we're going to let them cook in this mixture for about 3 to 5 minutes. And that also gives our serrano a few minutes to also cook into that mixture. And then the next step is I'm going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to get my blender. It's the blender I'm going to be using. And we're going to blend this mixture into a paste. And some people, after they blend it into a paste, will take it and run it through a sieve. I don't bother to do that step. I'll just make sure I have a really fine paste. So while we're giving that about 5 minutes, well, about 3 more minutes to go, I promised you I would show you how I store my spices. And there it is. Alright, so we are now ready for the next step. You can see that's already is now simmering. So I'm going to turn this off for a few minutes, and I will come back once I'm done blending it. That's what I'm going to be using to blend it. We need this to cool off a little bit. Alright. That made a little bit of a mess, but that is what we are going for. You want your mixture to be silky. And if you want to run it through a sieve, you can do that step. I don't find it necessary. So I'm going to turn the heat back on. Then I'm going to add the chicken. And at this point, we want the heat on a medium-low while we mix the chicken in. Once we have the chicken mixed in, then we're going to add the coconut milk. So I wanted you to see what that looks like before I add the chicken. So we have our chicken in, and I'm not worried that the pieces are large. because once we put it in the jar and can it, the chicken is going to break down a little further. So we're going to bring this to a boil and watch it carefully because it is going to splatter all over the place if you're not careful. So we want a very gentle boil. Alright, so the butter chicken has come to temperature, and I don't know if you can tell that it's starting to simmer. So we are ready to put in the coconut milk, and I'm going to be using 2 of them. And I am using the coconut milk instead of cream because I'm going to be canning this chicken. So I have put in 1 coconut milk can, and I'm going to first mix this in and see if I need a second one. Yep, I'm going to go ahead and put in the second can because we don't want this to be too thick in the jar. And I like to can the butter chicken in these half pints. So it's a single serving. And I might do like maybe 2 or 3 of them in a 1 pint jar. But that's what I like to use. We have our coconut milk mixed in, and as you can see, it is really smooth. So at this point, you can add any veggies you want to, or you can just eat it or can it as is. And I am going to be adding 1 cup of frozen peas, and I am going to mix that in and start putting everything in the jars. And I'm not going to worry about getting those peas to cook. They'll finish cooking while I'm doing the canning. So we have come up with 8 jars. And what I have done is I've made sure I've wiped the rims with vinegar, and I'm going to get the lids on, and as usual I am using 4 jar lids. And now we're going to make sure each one of this is finger tight, and I will do that once I put the camera down. And I'm going to let this finish cooking, and this is what we're going to have for tonight. And I'm going to come back and add the Kasuri Methi to this one. Make sure the peas are cooked, and I'm going to serve it with naan, and you can also serve it with basmati rice. So that's what the Kasuri Methi looks like. And I'm going to rub it between my hands, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So I've crushed the Kasuri Methi, and that's what it looks like. So we're going to stir it in, and we'll let this simmer for another 2 or 3 minutes, and it should be ready to go. And at this point, if you have cilantro, go ahead and add it in. And yes, you do not want to add the cilantro or the Kasuri Methi to the one that you're going to be canning. So this has been simmering for a while, and I have some frozen cilantro. I have turned off the heat, and I'm going to let that sit there and defrost. And then I'm going to mix it in, and our dish is ready to go. All right. So we have our butter chicken in the canner. I'm going to get it going. See if I can do this one-handed. There we go. So I've made sure that is in, and all I have to do is twist and get that closed. And we don't put that in yet. It'll let us know when we are ready for that. So I'm going to get that going. And the water is hot because I'm using hot jars. And because the chicken is already fully cooked, I'm going to pressure can this for about 30 minutes instead of the full 60 minutes that you would do for raw chicken. All right. And it says insert the jars, but we already have the jars in there. And everything is hot. So we'll be back when that is done canning. And the cilantro is almost fully defrosted. I'm just going to stir it in. I'm going to turn it back on low so it can warm back up. And we're not trying to cook this cilantro, we're just trying to get the curry to warm up again. All right, that's what the final product looks like. And as I mentioned earlier, you can either have it with rice or with a chapati or with naan. So now it has pressure and the canning has started. All right, so that is done and we have 8 jars. Oh, I don't know if you can see that. That is still boiling. And my lighting is not very good right now. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, there we go. So anyway, we got 8 jars of the butter chicken. And like I mentioned before, I like to do it in the half pint. So they're all single serving. And that's it for today. Bye.
So signing off from pancakes in the morning, guys.
Oh yeah, Roger wants me to say. I'm signing off, guys. We're having pancakes in the morning. Where we is Roger. Bye, everyone.